One command from Eric Forrester is enough to tear Will and Electra apart. And while Electra obeys her family, Will is left wondering whether the woman who claims to love him will ever fight for their relationship. In this Friday, July 17, 2026, Bold and the Beautiful recap, the emotional pressure begins at the Forrester mansion. Eric is determined to remove Will Spencer from Electra's life, and he refuses to leave room for compromise. Eric pushes Electra to tell Will to leave. Electra hesitates but eventually gives in. She tells Will that he has to go. It is a painful moment because these are not words Electra appears eager to say. She is following Eric's demand, even though her feelings for Will have not disappeared. Eric then delivers an even harsher message. He tells Will never to return. For Will, this is more than being thrown out of a house. It feels like a complete rejection of who he is. Eric is not only questioning Will's behavior or his choices, he is drawing a firm line between the Forresters and the Spencers. That family divide becomes the central wound of the day. Will loves Electra, but Eric sees him as someone who does not belong in her future. Electra is caught between the man she believes could be the one and the family whose approval controls so much of her life. Once Will is gone, Eric tells Electra that he is doing this for her own good. His position is clear. He believes he is protecting her. But the scene also shows how little control Electra has over her own romantic life. Eric speaks with absolute authority, as though Electra cannot be trusted to decide what kind of relationship is right for her. Electra admits that she loves Will. She believes he may be the person she is supposed to be with. Eric immediately rejects that possibility. According to him, Will is not the one. That answer does not invite discussion. Eric has already reached his decision and he expects Electra to accept it. This is where Electra's emotional struggle becomes especially important. She does not suddenly stop loving Will. Instead, she begins surrendering to the pressure around her. Electra tells Eric that her family and the company will now be her only priorities. On the surface, it sounds like loyalty. She is promising to devote herself to the Forrester family and its future. Emotionally, however, it sounds like defeat. Electra is trying to convince Eric that she will follow his rules. She may also be trying to convince herself that she can push Will out of her heart simply because Eric has ordered her to do it. But love does not disappear that easily. Across town at Bikini, Will is carrying the full weight of what happened. The hostess believes Dylan should pursue Will and encourages her to make a move. When Will arrives, he drops onto a couch and keeps to himself. Other women notice him, but Will is not interested in the attention. He is brooding. He has just lost access to Electra, and he is clearly not ready to pretend that everything is fine. Dylan approaches and guesses that Electra has rejected him again. Will does not want a conversation. He wants a beer and he wants to be left alone. That reaction says a great deal about his emotional condition. Will is not looking for an immediate replacement. He is not treating the breakup as an excuse to flirt with someone else. His focus remains on Electra. When a blonde woman approaches him and tries to start a conversation, Will quickly shuts her down. She jokingly calls him Captain Cranky before walking away. The moment brings a little humor, but it also reinforces the seriousness of Will's heartbreak. Even with other women showing interest, he cannot separate himself from what happened at the Forrester mansion. The hostess continues urging Dylan not to give up. Dylan tries again, but Will decides it may be better to leave. She stops him and encourages him to talk instead of carrying the pain alone. This time Will opens up. He explains that Eric forced Electra to throw him out. Eric also banned him from returning because Will is a Spencer and Electra is a Forrester. Will jokes about the situation resembling Romeo and Juliet, but the humor cannot hide how wounded he feels. The comparison fits the emotional problem in front of them. Two people say they love each other, yet their family identities have become a wall between them. Will is not only angry at Eric, he is also hurt by Electra's response. Dylan points directly at the most uncomfortable part of the situation. Electra did not stand up for Will, and she did not stand up for their relationship. That observation matters. Eric may have created the confrontation, but Electra ultimately followed his command. She could not bring herself to challenge the family authority standing in front of her. Will now has to ask himself whether love is enough when only one person appears willing to resist the pressure. Electra may believe Will is the one, but when the decisive moment arrived, she told him to leave. And Dylan has made sure Will cannot ignore that painful truth. While Will and Electra are being separated by family loyalty, another family conflict is becoming even more dangerous. At the Cliff House, Finn receives a phone call from Sheila. She wants to know whether he has spoken to Steffy about allowing her into their lives. Finn tells Sheila that Steffy will be home soon. When Steffy arrives, Finn ends the call. He attempts to begin the difficult conversation almost immediately, but Steffy has troubling news of her own. She tells him about Daphne's diagnosis. Steffy feels deeply for Daphne and what she is facing. Finn explains that Daphne could still carry a child, although it would not be with her own eggs. Adoption is also a possibility. The conversation is compassionate and serious, yet it soon leads Steffy to reflect on Finn's childhood and the woman who gave birth to him. Steffy points out that Finn was fortunate he was not raised by Sheila. For Finn, this becomes the opening he has been waiting for. He reveals that Sheila recently came to see him and asked to become part of their lives. Steffy's mood changes immediately. Finn reminds her that Sheila signed the divorce papers. He recognizes that ending her marriage to Deacon was not easy for Sheila. Because of that sacrifice, Finn believes they should at least consider allowing Sheila some place in their family. Steffy is horrified. Her reaction is not based on a small disagreement or ordinary jealousy. Steffy believes Sheila represents a direct threat to their home and their children. She understands why Finn might be tempted. Sheila is his biological mother, and she is asking for a relationship with him. But Steffy sees something much darker behind that request. She believes Sheila is using Finn's emotions to gain access to the entire family. In Steffy's view, Finn is not the final goal, he is the doorway. Steffy warns that Sheila is going after their children and their family. She insists that every emotional appeal is simply a means to an end. She needs Finn to understand the danger before he makes a decision they cannot undo. Elsewhere, Sheila sits alone and looks at photographs. She studies an image of herself with Deacon and mourns the husband she has lost. Then she turns her attention to a picture of Finn and his family. Sheila says she cannot lose Finn as well. Her desire is direct and intense. She wants to be included. She wants a place inside the family she sees in that photograph. But the way she obsesses over that image gives Steffy's fear even more weight. Sheila is not speaking about an occasional conversation with Finn. She is imagining herself as part of his household and his family circle. That is exactly the possibility Steffy cannot accept. Back at the Cliff House, Finn continues defending the idea that Sheila has changed. He believes her marriage to Deacon showed a different side of her. Steffy refuses to rely on that belief. She argues that Deacon is no longer there to keep Sheila under control. Without him, Steffy sees Sheila as a loose cannon. Finn responds that Sheila only wants him and Hayes to be part of her life. But even that statement is alarming to Steffy. Hayes is not simply Finn's son, he is Steffy's child, and she will not allow Sheila to gain access to him through Finn's sympathy. Steffy warns that they cannot let Sheila into their lives, not even through the smallest opening. That image captures the entire conflict. Finn may believe they can establish limits. He may imagine that Sheila can be allowed a controlled connection without taking over. Steffy believes any access is too much. Once Sheila is allowed through the door, Steffy fears those limits will become impossible to maintain. Overwhelmed, Steffy throws herself into Finn's arms. She is not simply arguing with her husband, she is pleading with him. Steffy needs Finn to choose the safety of their family over the hope that Sheila has truly changed. Meanwhile, Sheila remains convinced that Steffy will eventually accept her. That confidence makes the situation even more unsettling. Steffy is saying no with every part of her being, while Sheila is already imagining a future in which that refusal no longer matters. At the Forrester mansion, Eric repeats his position to Electra. He says once again that he is protecting her. He orders her to keep Will out of her life permanently. This is no temporary separation. Eric expects Electra to close the door forever. Electra quietly agrees. But later, outside the mansion, her true feelings are impossible to hide. At bikini closing time arrives, Dylan offers Will a ride, but he refuses and says he will walk. Then Will takes out his phone and calls Electra. She does not answer immediately, so he leaves a voicemail. Will tells her that he will love her forever. Outside the Forrester mansion, Electra listens. She finally connects and says she will love him forever too. But Will has already ended the calls. They are separated by distance, family pressure, and a conversation that arrives only seconds too late. Will and Electra look up at the same moon, each suffering alone. They still love each other, that has not changed. What has changed is Electra's willingness to fight. Eric has demanded total loyalty. Dylan has forced Will to recognize that Electra did not defend their relationship, and now two people who believe their love will last forever are obeying a decision that is keeping them apart. So, will Electra continue living by Eric's command, or will losing Will finally give her the courage to choose her own future? Share your thoughts in the comments and subscribe for daily The Bold and the beautiful spoilers, recaps and updates.